You've been praying wrong, and that's why nothing is changing. You've been pleading, begging, repeating words in desperation, but still feel like heaven is quiet and your situation is stuck. And here's the warning. God doesn't respond to pity, He responds to faith. You think your emotions are the power source of prayer, but the truth is, tears without trust don't move mountains. Hebrews 11 verse 6 says, without faith it is impossible to please God. Not without tears, not without long prayers, not without perfect words, without faith. You've been praying from pain, but not from position. You've approached God like a beggar when He called you to come as a son. The Bible doesn't say, beg and you will receive. It says ask, seek, knock with boldness. Some of you have been knocking on doors God already opened, but you haven't stepped through because your prayers are filled with doubt instead of direction. You pray like someone hoping to be heard, when Jesus already said in John 11 verse 41, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. You're not waiting for heaven to pay attention. Heaven is waiting for you to pray from identity. This is the hidden truth the enemy doesn't want you to understand. If he can keep you praying weak, he can keep you living stuck. That's why Jesus didn't teach the disciples how to preach. He taught them how to pray, because real authority is born in communion, not performance. You've been trying to perform in prayer, putting on religious language, long phrases, and dramatic pauses, thinking the length of your prayer is what gives it power. But Jesus said in Matthew 6 verse 7, don't heap up empty words like the pagans do. The power of your prayer is not in how long you speak. It's in how aligned your heart is with God's will. Some of you are praying for things God already promised, but you don't believe they're yours. You keep asking God to love you, to forgive you, to accept you, but He already did. You're praying for what's already settled instead of declaring it. That's the shocking secret of kingdom prayer. It's not begging God to move. It's agreeing with what He's already spoken. You keep asking Him to fight your battles, but He already said, the battle is the Lord's. 2 Chronicles 20 verse 15. Your job is to stand firm, not strive. So if your prayers sound more like panic than prophecy, it's time to shift. The enemy doesn't care how often you pray. He just hopes you never pray from a place of victory. That's why Paul wrote in Ephesians 6 to put on the whole armor of God before praying, because warfare prayers require warrior posture. You don't whisper into the void hoping God hears you. You speak into the throne room as someone seated with Christ in heavenly places. Ephesians 2 verse 6. This is the real reason some of your prayers haven't broken through, because they were rooted in fear, not faith. You asked for healing, but kept preparing for loss. You asked for breakthrough, but kept rehearsing your limitations. James 1 verse 6 says when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave tossed by the wind. Doubt neutralizes prayer. If your prayers have been coming from a place of spiritual insecurity, it's time to recalibrate. God doesn't need you to perform, He needs you to partner. That means praying His word, not just your wishes. Declaring His promises, not just venting your problems. It's okay to bring your burden to Him, but don't forget to pick up your authority before you leave. Jesus said in Mark 11 verse 24, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Not hope, not wish, believe. That means if you're still walking around worrying after you've prayed, you didn't pray, you just vented. You spoke out of emotion, not conviction. And here's where it gets even more real. Some of you are praying for things God told you to speak to. Jesus didn't pray for the storm to stop. He rebuked it. He didn't pray for Lazarus to rise. He commanded it. There's a level of prayer that sounds less like asking and more like activating. You can't walk in dominion with a slave's mindset. If you're still waiting for permission to speak life over your finances, your family, your purpose, this is it. God already said yes. Now you say amen. The enemy has no problem with a praying believer until that believer starts praying with power. That's when chains break. That's when atmospheres shift. That's when hell gets nervous. So here's your wake-up call. Stop praying like a victim. Start praying like a vessel. You are not knocking on heaven's door hoping for scraps. You're seated at the table. Speak like it. Declare like it. Believe like it. Because when you pray with faith, backed by the word, aligned with God's will, rooted in your identity, you don't have to beg. You command. And that's the kind of prayer hell can't stop.